Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story about a clever bit of compliance and the unexpected consequences that followed. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. When an immutable object meets an unstoppable idiot. This is from my previous employer. I was working on a tool to display and interact with the complete history of changes to certain data in one of our internal tools. Anytime a person edited said data, a new entry needed to be added which described the exact change made. This was being done mostly for internal auditing purposes, but also had to be able to completely reproduce the exact data values from scratch by basically applying all changes up to a given point to a blank data entry. This was a legal requirement for this tool in order for it to meet government auditing requirements. This effectively means that these entries could not be changed ever. And were this immutable. We're nearly ready for launch. The tool works, is tested, and we're showing it to the higher-ups to get final launch approval. Now, one of the people in this meeting was a relatively new VP who'd been there just long enough now to ask stupidly dangerous questions and who was trying to start to flex their decision-making muscles. This is where the trouble starts. The VP pipes up, "So how do you delete an entry?" Me, visibly confused, "You can't since..." The VP interrupts. "Users need to be able to undo accidental changes. I'm not approving this until they can delete entries." Me, "Okay, but if they can delete entries, we can't reproduce the data from them since you..." VP interrupting again. "I don't want to hear excuses. Just get it done." Cue malicious compliance. I tell them I'll add it and quickly end the meeting. I go back to my desk and quickly implement a remove button. When clicked, this button shows a spinner for a random amount of time between 1 and 10 seconds before showing an error to the user explaining that the operation failed and that they'll need to manually make their changes to the data directly. I even included a direct link to open up the data editor for them and everything. I also added a file bug link, which would indeed file a bug for the user, but which automatically added both the legal department and the VP to the bug. However, for me and anyone on the dev team, this button would simply hide the entry from the display immediately, but would never actually delete anything. I scheduled another review meeting for the next day. The VP is happy, my manager is happy, all is good, and the tool gets launch approval. As people start using the tool, the VP and legal department start getting slammed with high-priority bugs for this feature. The legal department, who were not in the approval meeting as they were located elsewhere, are furious that this feature exists and shut the tool down until it's removed and send some very strongly worded emails to the entire team, including VP, that such a feature is legally dubious at best and downright defeats the purpose of this tool. I remove it within a couple hours and everything winds up getting back on track. The best part was that I got a project completion bonus, a bonus directly from the VP for implementing the feature so quickly, before legal found out, and then a bonus from legal for removing it so quickly. Unfortunately, it seemed that VP still wanted to flex their power, as a few days later they called me in asking to add a feature allowing people to edit entries. I told VP we could absolutely do that, but wanted to get approval from legal first. They did not approve. VP stopped trying to make changes after that. This might be the first malicious compliance tale I've heard where the person you're complying with was completely oblivious. Well played, sir. And our second story, a lawyer's petty revenge on a sovereign citizen. I run across sovereign citizens now and again, the kind that like to file bogus legal documents filled with Latin phrases and notarized with a red seal to make everything official. These guys think legal terms are like incantations or spells. If you just say the right thing in a document, your legal problems magically disappear. Lawyers and judges hate these guys. They're super annoying. Years ago, I took on a case for a friend. It was a family estate squabble, and my client's brother owed him money. The Sov-Sit brother got his greedy hands on his father's money outside of the estate process by getting himself made joint with his elderly father on some bank accounts. Pulling that stunt is a no-no in Canada, definitely frowned upon by the courts, but so far as Sov-Sit man was concerned, it was finders keepers all the way. And his father's will be damned. I sent SovSit Man a letter demanding that he pay, and he stuck to the SovSit playbook. He paid my client with a check. The check was not your normal check, drawn in an actual bank account. Instead, it was some weird bullcrappy thing that he got off the web. The bank check was drawn on didn't exist, and the check had all kinds of strange wording and fine print on the back. The thing about these SovSit guys is that they have no notion of the consequences of the bogus documents and bad advice that they get off the web. SovSit Man made a huge mistake by sending me the bogus check. "Can I cash this?" my client said when I showed him the check. "Go for it, but tell the bank in advance that you know it won't clear so that they won't think you're pulling a scam." So my client cashes the check, and of course it bounces with extreme prejudice. After the check bounced, we sued the brother for the money he stole from the estate. It was a short, simple lawsuit, just a few pages long. We served the brother at the house he owned, free and clear, thanks to the money he stole from the estate. The guy had 30 days to defend, and on day 30, I got his defense, filled with the usual SovSit nonsense. The defense also had a huge mistake in it, one of the biggest I've ever seen, and I've been doing this a long time. SovSit Man started harassing me and my staff. He sent emails, he sent letters, he left voicemail messages. He came by the office uninvited, demanding to see me and making threats. He kept it up until the cops said they'd arrest him if he came by again. By then, it was time for his court date. So I'm in court asking for judgment, and the SovSit genius is there, talking his legal babble, saying words he doesn't understand. The judge shut him down after about 10 seconds and gave my client judgment. SovSit Man has a meltdown and is escorted out of the courthouse. Of course he appeals, but I don't care because of the mistake the guy had made right out of the gate. His mistake was serious and fatal. I don't know about other countries, but in Canada, if someone gives you a check and it fails to clear, you can sue for that. All you have to do is prove that a check written to you bounced, and that's all you need. The court will give you a judgment. So when SovSit Man sent my client the bogus check, he handed my client an airtight cause of action, an easy win of a lawsuit. And of course, I pounced on it. When SovSit Man's check bounced, my client sued him for that too in a separate legal proceeding that we started on the same day as the estate case. The two claims looked almost identical, at least on the front page. My client's name was the same, the defendant's name was the same, and the court file number was identical but for the final digit. When we served the SovSit Man with Claim 1, the estate claim, we also sued him on Claim 2, the bad check claim. I think he thought that the second claim was just a copy of the first because he only defended the estate action. On the bad check case, he didn't defend, and I had a default judgment after 30 days. So a few months later, SovSit Man wants to negotiate. He's feeling magnanimous, he says, and even though the estate case is under appeal, an appeal he said he was sure to win, he was willing to throw his brother a bone. He'd pay, but nowhere near the amount of the judgment. It was then that I let him know that we'd sued twice, and that I had a judgment in the second action as well as the first, and that now the man's home was totally tied up with the writs I'd filed. "You better hope you win that appeal," I said to him, "because you're literally betting your house on it." SovSit Man did his usual meltdown thing, but once he was finished with the screaming and the threats, he had a bit of a come-to-Jesus moment. We settled with him, sort of. He paid back all the money he stole from the estate, plus all my client's legal fees, plus some more, just for being a bit of a jerk and a sovereign citizen to boot. Later that year, he was at my client's house for Christmas dinner. Go figure. Families can be pretty weird. Good work, OP. Every sovereign citizen, or whatever pseudo-law groups want to call themselves, deserves this treatment. The story was super entertaining to read and satisfying, but seriously, these people are so horrible. I'm sure OP didn't enjoy having himself and his staff harassed, not to mention the client who got ripped off in the first place. And our last story. Neighbor's tree destroyed my property. So to try and make this brief, the neighbors behind me live in a house that's falling apart. A yard with trash, a yard with broken cars that my other neighbor complained to the city about. Cars were removed. Front door and windows just broken and basically nothing repaired, and this tree that was in absolute danger to multiple neighbors complained about, including myself, 2 weeks ago to the city. I wake up at 3 a.m. today and this giant tree fell in my backyard and destroyed everything. New plants and new fence that I spent hours and hours setting up and lots of money, all destroyed. Part of my actual house was hit, and a few shingles are on the ground, and all the power gone as it also destroyed the power lines. It's like 90 degrees, so no power means no AC, no lights, food in the fridge spoiling, not being able to wash clothes and etc. And I woke from home, so I can't work, which is a big deal due to no internet. The damage is piling up, but the stress this has caused me is even more alarming. Already filed a claim with insurance. They told me need to find out their names and their insurance. I tried, and they refused to answer the door. So tomorrow I'm going to the city to tell them and to get any documentation showing my complaint of this very tree 2 weeks ago, just for proof. The other neighbors who had made complaints about this tree months ago are also willing to show proof that they complained about this very tree, in case that's needed to help me. I know the entire act of God thing, but this has to be negligence. And last year I told them about this tree, and they told me I have no money, so do it yourself if you don't like the tree. Meaning that they have been aware that this is a problem tree and did nothing. So I even paid $2,000 to get this part of the tree trimmed down last year because my neighbor was useless, and here we are a year later and the same tree has fallen. Update. Frustrated, I sought legal advice. My lawyer, confident in our case, helped me file a lawsuit against the neighbors for negligence. We included all the evidence, city documents, complaint history, and the neighbors' dismissive comments from last year. Other neighbors supported my case with their testimonies. The court proceedings took a few months. My lawyer presented our evidence convincingly, showing the neighbors clear negligence. The judge ruled in our favor, ordering the neighbors to compensate me for property damages, lost wages, and other costs. They were also mandated to address remaining issues with the tree and their property. Hey guys, thank you all for watching video. I'll see you in the next one.